Hey guys, how are we doing? So we're back on another video from Alexander's. I can never remember how to pronounce his name. Just before we start though, I'm feeling sorry for myself, feeling ill, I have a cold, so I apologise if I'm not as energetic as I usually am, or I'm going to try and be as talkative as I can through these. I like, having a little bit of a discussion throughout these reactions, and I really look forward to this one, because this is the beauty of Hunter x Hunter's Phantom Troupe, and Phantom Troupe is so cool, because I love when you like mention something and give little hints to it, and then it builds up to it. So like obviously Kurapika was like, they killed my family, and took their eyes, and then and then you've got Hisoka, who is like part of the troupe, and then when it gets into the main story of the troupe, it was just like, who are these guys? They're so intense. And then obviously there's going to be spoilers in this, so I don't mind. I'm perfectly within my right to spoil stuff. I'm terrible with names though. But when that woman shot the info into all their heads, thus dying, I felt so sorry for her. I felt sad, and it was like, I had conflicting thoughts. I was like, should I really feel this way about the bad guys? But anyway, let's get into this. I'm sure Alexander's got some more cool ways of wording these awesome feats within this anime. Oh god, this was such a cool arc. I loved it. Right, let's just get into this. I can't wait to start doing my own discussion of this. This is the beauty of Hunter x Hunter's Phantom Troupe. Ooh, bit of Agnes D.
Hunter x Hunter's Yorknew Arc is absolutely spectacular.
Oh, it's brilliant.
While I do believe that the Chimera Ant arc is deeper, more complex, and more profound in its symbolism and themes, I find the Yorknew Arc to be just as enjoyable. This arc was incredibly important for Hunter x Hunter as a whole. It shifted the tone of the story to something much darker, sinister, and more mature.
A lot of people died.
The entire Yorknew scenario changed things for each of our protagonists, especially Kurapika.
Yeah,
there was a story that the series had been building up to since what felt like the first few episodes. Tension slowly built in a steady crescendo through the series, until we reached the stunning apex that was the Yorknew Arc. I had enjoyed the series up until then, but it was during this arc where Hunter x Hunter established itself as a series that I adored. This arc finally captured the
this is when I was like, this is probably going to be amazing
and storytelling
what a
that the series had been hinting at but not achieved until that point. And this achievement was made possible thanks to one of my absolute favorite elements of Hunter x Hunter as a series.
Right, what's that?
The Phantom Troupe.
Yeah. So cool.
The Phantom Troupe, otherwise known as the Spider, is a group of 13 members. One leader, Krollo Lucifer, the head of the Spider, and 12 members, or legs of the Spider.
The legs.
This group was conceived by Krollo and originally only included Krollo himself, Phaeton, Machi, Nobunaga, Kakunoda, Franklin, and Uvogin.
I love how they got all these names of them.
Krollo decided that the Spider needed more legs. This band of thieves and murderers is absolutely one of Togashi's most impressive conceptions.
So cool.
And that is saying something. Thoughts on the Phantom Troupe greatly differ depending on who you ask and what their moral standpoint is. I've heard everything about them, from claims that they're entirely sympathetic to views that they're irredeemable, and everything in between.
Yeah.
The one thing that is for certain is that they are an absolute joy to watch.
They are.
Full of color and personality.
Now, the Phantom Troupe is so important
because a lot of the Yorknew Arc hinges on the watcher caring about the stories of these individuals. Without being invested in this group, the narrative would fall flat because the entirety of the arc is fixated on their exploits.
Really is.
However,
they have a lot to do with the story.
Here. The Phantom Troupe are entirely new characters to the series. There had been foreshadowing of them, but other than Machi's brief appearance, we had no notion of what they were like. Yet, the vast majority who have watched or read Hunter x Hunter agree that the Yorknew Arc was a resounding success.
Oh god, yeah.
So, how did Togashi craft the Phantom Troupe in a way that allowed the audience to instantly become so intrigued by them? The answer is simple to grasp and difficult to execute.
Right.
Through their absolutely brilliant characterization, Togashi made the Phantom Troupe undeniably and unequivocally human.
Oh yeah, very,
Despite
very human.
Being seemingly simple thieves and murderers, there's a lot of depth to the troupe.
Emotions between each one, everyone.
To something greater than themselves. Something rooted in a profound camaraderie and purpose.
It shows when some of them are willing to sacrifice themselves to save Krollo and that.
And these legs thrive in the purpose they achieve through the troupe's exploits. It's like a cyclical, self-fulfilling prophecy. The Phantom Troupe originates in Meteor City, a city in which the inhabitants have no origin, no one to love, no identity.
Where
as such, the spider takes these
people with nothing go
and provides them with exactly what they need and crave. I believe that we as humans require an identity and a purpose in life in order to find meaning.
And they have that within
the spider is so
troupe.
poignant in a sense, because it provides its members with a place of belonging.
Yeah.
These people latched on to the only thing in their lives that provided them with freedom, expression, and joy. And what is more human than that?
Yeah.
Through its leader and head, Krollo, the spider quite literally saved its members' lives. When you see things from this perspective, doesn't it make all of the killing and thieving for the good of the collective a bit more understandable? Maybe not for some, but it at least adds nuance and depth to the truth.
Like, they're not just doing it for no reason.
Aware that they are cogs in a machine, lesser parts of a bigger picture, the members of the Phantom Troupe all have their own quirks, both visually and in characterization.
They all stand out.
Although there is undoubtedly more focus on certain members, this distinguishes each one and makes them more than just monotonous legs of a spider.
Yeah, none of them.
All of these aspects make the Phantom Troupe completely engaging.
Think there's anyone I dislike
they're killers, but they're also
more than the others.
Simply living their lives in the most fulfilling way they see fit.
I just find them as a whole team very interesting.
Personality quirks. They play cards and stuff their fingers in their ears.
They know each other so well. As soon as he's about to do that, they cover their ears straight away because they know he's going to do that. So cool.
More than a standard antagonistic
you can tell they're like a family.
Contributed greatly to the themes of ambiguous morality and justice that dominate the Yorknew Arc. This aspect of the troupe immediately drew me to the spider when I first started the Yorknew Arc, and encouraged me to pay great attention to each of the individual members of the group.
Oh, God. The head of the spider. Krollo? There's an L. Alright, I thought it was just Lucifer.
I'm really not going to talk much about Krollo here, as I'm saving a discussion on him for a future video.
Cool.
Nevertheless, it is important to note Krollo's role in forming the spider from nothing and molding the bigger picture philosophy that all the members hold. Through his charisma, Krollo formed this group from the ashes, and instilled a deep-rooted sense of belonging in these formerly aimless people.
That was so cool. Just
whatever you may think of him, that aspect of his character merits respect. And there would literally be no Phantom Troupe without this mysterious man.
Nope. Here's the head. The Chaos Factor. Hisoka Muro. That was nice said. I'm cool. God, I don't know.
Again, I'm saving a big analysis of this magnificent guy for a later video.
I think we've watched that one already. That was the last one I watched. It's been a few days.
Hisoka serves no philosophy. He doesn't buy into Krollo and the spider's ideals. He is purely there due to his ultimate endeavor to fight Krollo, and fueled by simple instinct and desire. While the other troupe members undoubtedly act on instinct, Hisoka is the only one that has it literally dictating his actions with no other motives. He does what he wants in order to suit his needs, not the spider's.
Yeah.
This aspect of his character contrasts with the increasingly ambiguous shades of grey that the Phantom Troupe unbelievably becomes associated with during the Yorknew Arc. While the legs of the spider are quite selfless to an extent, Hisoka would literally backstab anyone if it suited his needs. Care. This goes a long way towards painting the troupe members, and in particular characters like Nobunaga, Uvogin, and Pakunoda,
but don't forget,
in a more sympathetic
he did ask one of them out on a date one time. Didn't he? Or was I making that up? No, it's the one with the threads. When he lost his arm, she sewed it back on and he asked her and she's gone.
The spider that is least associated with and has the weakest emotional connection with the ideologies of the troupe. Kalluto joins the troupe after the Yorknew Arc, replacing Hisoka.
Yes.
The ultimate goal of becoming stronger and bringing Killua home in mind. When first introduced, he is quiet, reserved, and obedient, though it should be noted that he is not against being a bit brutal with his killings. Kalluto nurses a bit of an inferiority complex. He is insecure and at times lacks confidence in himself, especially when comparing himself to his extraordinary family members and his fellow troopers.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're in a family like that, it's like, come on.
His needs do fall in line with the other legs of the spider. He is a bit unsure of his place in the world. However, he is unlike the other troop members in that he seems to be using the troop as a means to an end, rather than finding peace and solace in the spider. Perhaps that will change in the future.
Maybe.
Nevertheless, he adds an interesting element to the Phantom Troupe going forward.
Kortopi, which one's this one? Like I said, I'm awful with names, always have been.
Kortopi is definitely one of the least emphasized members of the troupe, Despite his quite distinct character design,
yeah, stands out.
while he was very important in some of the activities of the Spider during Yorknew,
oh, he can like,
and he is loved by his fellow members,
copies
the
and
story
then see
very
where they
rarely
are,
focuses
can't
on his thoughts or actions.
That's where they find out where the eyes are.
Very little is known about Cortope in general. We do know that at the time of the Yorknew Arc, he was the least powerful Spider in terms of physical strength. So there is that, I suppose. His power to create replicas of virtually any physical object is very useful to him, and he was in the center of one of the most shocking moments of the series in recent times. I did say spoiler alert.
Bonolanov?
Bonolanov is another one of the spiders that are on the periphery in terms of significance.
Do much.
But we do know a bit more about him than we do about Cortope. He's a man that speaks quite eloquently and with pride of his heritage and roots. Before joining the Spider, Bonolanov was a member of the Guodondon, a tribe that was eventually driven out of existence by modern development
with the
and
sounds
society.
and their bodies.
As such, he is the exact type of person that the troupe was meant to contain. A lonely man searching for a home and people to care for.
Yeah.
And Bonolanov found exactly that in the troupe. He is quite well liked by the other troupe members, and evidently thought of as family.
So weird. Franklin. I love all the names like this, then Franklin.
Franklin
of
is
the
a
Smith
calming
family.
influence in the troupe that embodies the ideologies of the Spider as well as Corolla himself. As a founding member, his loyalty to the Spider is deeply rooted. While he is not opposed to settling things in combat with the other members, he deeply cares for them, and seems to be one of the only ones who can settle disputes and altercations calmly and logically.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to like go get angry at all.
There is no one with a better understanding of exactly what the Spider is, how it should function, and what it needs to survive than Franklin.
Right.
Where other troupe members may be pushed to prioritizing other things ahead of the Spider's survival, such as the well-being of Chrollo himself, Franklin has perhaps the best understanding of how Chrollo wishes the Phantom Troupe to function.
Yeah, like he's like,
always there to provide
Chrollo would
wisdom
want
to
us
his
to
family,
like keep the
and
troop
while
going
he may not have as much
and let him
individuality
go.
in his personality as the other troupe members, this is due to his role as mediator. He is essential to the functioning of the Spider. And the guy has guns in his fingers.
Yeah. He just kills all those people in that room at the start. It's just like, Shizuku.
Shizuku is an interesting one. She forgets people's names, forgets even meeting people, and has an overall ditzy demeanor.
She's me.
On one occasion, she forgot that she had arm wrestled Gon just days prior.
She's me.
Yeah, she's a bit of an airhead. Still, there's something endearing about this adorable murderer and her Nen-powered vacuum.
The vacuum's so weird.
She's a bit like the little sister or darling of the group, and I think that the members are very protective of her. Or rather, they would be if she needed protection.
Yeah, she don't. She don't.
Not very much is given away about Shizuku's past, but it is assumed that she, like many of the others, originated in Meteor City. She replaced a troupe member who was killed by Silva Zoldyck.
Yeah, there was a random flashback, wasn't there, that showed other members that weren't there, which I thought was cool.
As a character.
I like
when
really they can do that.
Having a whimsical, scatterbrained young woman to contrast and juxtapose some of the more stoic, cold, and calculated members of the troupe.
Shalnark.
Shalnark is actually one of the most interesting
members. Oh,
members
he can remote control people. He's so weird. And he's so upbeat and smiley.
Shalnark has a childish face and demeanor. He is hardly ever not shown smiling or laughing.
Yeah, it's like, come on, we gotta do this then.
And his power literally involves turning people.
Like, isn't he the one that goes, right, let's go to Green Island, haha.
Beneath these actions, however, is an intelligent, unflinching, detached, and relatively unfeeling man. He wears a smile as he dishes out death and destruction, and he treats his victims like toys.
Well, yeah.
And becomes disappointed when they die, or break.
Or break,
he would then need to find a new one. Shalnark is much more of an analytical, logical thinker than an emotional or sentimental person.
Yeah, and his emotions don't get in the way of his decisions.
The troupe, particularly with Uvogin and Phaeton, but he is never truly close to any of them, especially relative to some of the other bonds we see in the Spider.
Yeah, doesn't really get close to anybody.
Be the one to try and take personal feelings out of the equation when settling disputes. Though he was concerned about Uvo's safety during his absence, he he simply does not feel nearly as much as some of the other members like Nobunaga or Pakunoda.
No, they show a lot of emotion.
In fact, after Corolla was kidnapped, Shellnark sided with Phaeton and Finks in wanting to go after Pakunoda in order to kill the chain user, even at the risk of Corolla's life, as the action would benefit the spider as a whole. This detachment is also perfectly illustrated in the aftermath of Pakunoda's death.
Oh.
While most of the troops spent the days after the death in mourning, Shellnark had already moved on and was entirely concerned with learning all that he could about Greed Island.
Yeah. Straight away, just like, let's go there.
The spider.
I've got this computer.
His logical outlook and reasoning is an asset to the troop, and above all, he realizes his role as an insignificant cog in the machine better than nearly everyone else, as evidenced when he was not all that worried about his death being foretold, but concerned about Pakunoda and Shizuku, whose deaths would leave the troop in dire straits due to losing their valuable powers.
It's all just logical.
In analyzing Shellnark as a person, it's pretty evident that he is likely the closest thing to what outsiders like Gon and Kurapika assumed the members of the Phantom Troupe would be like.
Right.
But even despite his cold characterization, he has found a home in the troop, and is fiercely loyal to his comrades. Shellnark did
probably because someone like that wouldn't really be as accepting.
After learning of Kortopi's fate during recent events in the manga, and quite interestingly, one of the few times where his cold and calculating persona was broken led to his demise.
Oh wow. I haven't read those manga chapters yet. Oh well. They're on their way in the
Pakunoda starts off as one of the least emphasized members of the troop.
Gosh, she's so epic.
It is a surprise that she ends up being the center of one of the most heartfelt moments of the arc.
Yep.
She exudes an air of confidence, and her power to extract memories led to some absolutely thrilling cat and mouse games between the troop and our protagonist.
And they're like, oh no, we know stuff now, and if she finds us, she'll know.
In my eyes, she is the quintessential example of why the troop was formed in the first place. Pakunoda's past is mostly unknown, but due to how purely she cares for the spider and the troop members,
means a lot.
Along with her love and
look, there's the flashback,
Frollo,
which is cool.
I'd say that she was in desperate need for a home, and that she owes her life to the Phantom Troupe. This is demonstrated through her desire to save Frollo, despite his wishes for her to prioritize the spider above its head, and even more through the way that she sacrifices herself to inform her brothers and sisters of Kurapika's power. If I were to make an inference here, I would guess that Pakunoda was never really treated with love or respect throughout her early life. She did end up in Meteor City, after all, and was yearning for a home and people to love. And she demonstrates this love for the people that made her life worthwhile through her actions in the Yorknew Arc. Not only this, but Pakunoda greatly appreciates those who treat her and her loved ones with respect. Through her last memories and communicated via Finks, she professed her gratitude for Gon and Killua and their desire to settle the dispute without any unnecessary death.
That was cool. That was really cool.
Overall, Pakunoda ended up being one of the most interesting Phantom Troupe members for me, and she contributed greatly to the feeling of love and family within the spider, which was quite effective in humanizing these antagonists.
I felt very sad at that moment. Like I was saying in this other video, I felt so sad.
I really like Machi.
She's so cool.
She's basically the Tsundere of the group, a character archetype that I've got to admit that I have an affinity to. For the vast majority of the time, she acts cold and emotionless, but she has a soft side for those that she cares about, meaning her fellow troop members. The way her behavior and true self contrast each other is actually the polar opposite of how Shellnark is characterized, which is pretty interesting. She deeply mourns Pakunoda's death and was willing to fight her own fellow members in order to save Frollo's life, something which you wouldn't associate with someone like her at first glance.
No.
She does believe in the importance of the spider, but she would put those she cares about ahead of the spider every time. Her scenes with Hisoka and the way she brushes his advances off throughout the series are great, and despite her harsh words and behavior, it is clear that a small part of her cares for him. Though, not enough to make her not want to kill him if he were to go after Frollo.
Yeah.
Overall, Machi is just a kick-ass, take-no-crap, emotional character with a great design, and I think she's absolutely awesome.
She's so cool. She's well cool. Sphinx. PH.
Sphinx is a brash and impulsive character whose actions are dictated by a primitive want rather than any calculation. He is definitely a character who chooses heart and adrenaline over head, in contrast to members like Franklin or Shellnark. An interesting thing to note is that both Shalnark and Finks wanted to kill Kurapika despite Chrollo's life being at stake.
Did you?
But while Shalnark was thinking logically and for the good of the spider, Finks simply wanted revenge. He isn't the brightest, as demonstrated through his hilarious failed attempt at a bluff.
He just hangs up and he's like, oh no!
And he lives to fight. His combat style also reflects his personality. Brutal, hand-to-hand,
rip the heads off!
But he isn't just
Cal.
And as I said previously, he wears his heart on his sleeve and cares very much for his brothers and sisters. He has formed a close bond with Phaeton, and quickly gains an affinity with Kalluto. He lends his clothes to Shizuku after she lost them, and showed a moment of profound sadness when reflecting on Pakunoda's final moments.
The thoughts,
showing gratitude to Gon and Killua for their role in her peace of mind. I wouldn't say that he's the classic harsh ruffian with a heart of gold, but he's definitely got some similarities with that type of character archetype. Or rather, as many similarities as a brutal killer can have.
I like that helmet. Excuse me. Phaeton!
Phaeton is one of the more popular Phantom Troupe members, which is totally understandable when you take into account his badass persona, cool fighting style, and quirky dialogue.
He's powerful.
He's the strong and silent but slightly psychotic member of the troupe, skilled in the art of torture and interrogation. He doesn't tend to say much, and when he does, he uses a pretty limited vocabulary, or even his own fictional language.
He showed how strong he was in the Chimera Arc when he was fighting the
He's cold and tends to compete with
Chimeras on their
island
island.
and get more kills. But it should be noted that he's extremely close with his comrades, and seems to be especially fond of Finks and Shalnark, who he's quite protective of. While Phaeton is incredibly sadistic and enjoys inflicting pain, he is also deeply invested in the spider, having been one of the original members.
Founding members seem to be very, very grounded in the group.
He's able to recall exact details regarding the troop, such as the exact number of days since the last meeting, when new members joined, and what jobs were carried out at what time.
Well, he just wears the thing, but it doesn't really matter as to
having
his face.
Is undoubtedly an outlet for Phaeton to let loose and express himself through bloodshed and torture. He has also found a home, a place of solace, friends, and family in the troop.
Nobunaga?
Nobunaga is probably the most approachable and friendly Phantom Troupe member.
Yep.
Of course, this is all relative.
He's like, I want Gon to join the group.
But he is more than capable of reason, and actually appears to be quite friendly at times, as seen when he tries to befriend and recruit Gon and Killua.
Yeah.
I think of Nobunaga as a big contributor to the heart of the Phantom Troupe.
Excuse me.
And without him, the spider wouldn't seem nearly as complex as it does. It is through Nobunaga where we witness the level of connection that these members can have with one another. His deep friendship and subsequent mourning of Uvogin brought an essence of moral ambiguity that tends to be absent from most antagonists in anime. It is much easier to hate a group that is cold and emotionless from top to bottom, and through Nobunaga, we see that this is not the case with the Phantom Troupe, as Gon finds out and has trouble accepting. Nobunaga wasn't the character that introduced the distinct sense of family and loyalty within the troupe, as we'll explore in just a second, but he was the one that maintained that theme and carried it strongly throughout the Yorknew Arc.
Uvogin. Is that how it's pronounced?
It's hard to believe that Uvogin's death was not met by cheers from me, but this narrative was brilliant at making his death a death that was
amazing.
Were Kurapika's actions justified? You could argue ethics all day.
He goes, doesn't he choose to die than rat them out?
Yet, seeing Uvogin die in the way he did just left a bitter taste in the mouth.
Yeah.
And this is because he is the humanity and ideology of the Phantom Troupe personified.
It's like, no.
Uvogin is a barbaric,
not letting him go.
Bloodthirsty brute.
He's so powerful.
And there's no denying that. But in his last moments, when he could have lived on, had he just revealed some secrets to Kurapika,
he just chose not to.
Uvogin was resolute in the stance that he would rather die than betray the
Didn't even hesitate.
And this is a turning point, not just for Kurapika
or the
Yorknew Arc, but for Hunter x Hunter as a whole, as the element of ambiguous morality that is so deeply associated with Hunter x Hunter is first introduced. How could this evil group, capable of such despicable things, feel anything as human as loyalty and love for others? This frustrated Kurapika and left him without a proper outlet for his rage, which toppled the first domino that led to his feeling of emptiness at the end of his arc. This made both Kurapika and the audience question exactly what the Phantom Troupe were.
Yeah, it's so
we
weird.
We tend to show our true selves in our final
it's
moments.
Like, you know they're the bad guys, but...
Moments, Uvogin showed loyalty and pure altruism to his
No, he's not good, but...
Don't get me wrong. Uvogin was actually quite twisted and immoral through some of his actions and thoughts throughout the series.
The way he killed them all was just brilliant.
The way he simply brushed off and couldn't remember
his
slaughter
so
of the Cortas
powerful.
due to the sheer amount of bloodshed that he had spread was pretty deplorable. But there is a level of respect that I have for characters like Uvogin. Characters that simply live life how they please. I have a soft spot for characters that are instinctual, who know exactly who they are and what they want out of life. Ones who are bold enough to laugh the loudest and rage the hardest. I actually find quite a few parallels in terms of both characterization and character design between Uvogin and Ryder from Fate Zero.
Oh.
Live life to the fullest is a phrase that gets tossed around quite a lot. It's a philosophy that is much easier said than done. Living without hesitation, insecurities, and inhibitions is desperately difficult. Very few, myself included, can actually fully live that way. That's why I get a bit of an envious, vicarious thrill out of seeing characters
someone
like
that
Uvogin.
can do that.
But the beautiful thing about him is that he is only enabled to live this freely due to the safe foundation of a home and the familial bonds he found in the troupe.
Found a group that accepted the way he was.
And he acknowledges this through his pure loyalty to them, right until the end.
Yeah, man.
The
like,
mourning that
not telling you.
occurs after
I'll
his
die.
death hammers home the fact that Uvogin was a man more than worthy of love. This whole thing is a concept that, while simple, gets more thought-provoking the more you think about it. Through Uvogin, we see exactly why the Phantom Troupe is so much more than a simple antagonist band. As Gon angrily exclaims about how unfair it is for the troupe to grieve for the death of one of their own, after they cause so much pain, the message about this band of thieves is hammered home. Gon is right, it isn't fair. The Phantom Troupe are hypocrites, individuals that apply backwards logic to justify living a life that simply makes them feel empowered and good about themselves, because nothing else does. But that statement can apply to so many people, not just in Hunter x Hunter, but in the world today. In the end, the Phantom Troupe's motivations were not so different from some of Hunter x Hunter's protagonist characters. They just got dealt a difficult hand, and found a home for themselves through the only means possible. I found myself entranced with the Phantom Troupe. The pure familial bonds between these brothers and sisters, the sheer entertainment factor they exude, and the poignant glimpses of humanity that we see from them despite the context of the narrative made them one of my favorite aspects of the show. The scene where Krollo sadly composes an orchestra of mourning and destruction as a tribute for Uvogin is one of my top 3 scenes of the series, and literally the moment where I said, I love Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
The music, the dialogue, the voiceover of the fortune, the lighting, the atmosphere, the imagery, the sheer sentiment and concept of the Requiem, it was just jaw-droppingly beautiful. It's a scene that still gives me chills to this day, and one that solidified my love for the troupe as antagonists. While I don't excuse the troupe's horrible actions,
of course not.
I do find the motives and mechanisms behind those actions and the spider itself to be complex and fascinating. Hopefully you all enjoyed them as much as I did.
Loved them.
Feel free to share what you like about the troupe, who your favorite member
I love a good
is,
bad guy.
or perhaps why you didn't enjoy them, or the Yorknew Arc. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more.
Oh, what? Is that the end? Oh my god, that went quick. Whoa. And I love how he just ends the video as well. There's no, like, outro in that. Oh, god, I'm dying. That was an awesome video. That was so cool. Phantom Troupe are awesome. I like how he did each individual character as well. And, good discussion points on them as well. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna... Oh, man, I'm feeling like crap. I feel bad, because, like, yeah, you guys are sufferers. But yeah, I really liked it, because it did. It gave a massive tonal shift on the anime as a whole, because it was all like, I'm going to be a hunter, let's go train, and then it was, we got a group of bad guys here that are causing a lot of havoc, and they've got plans, and they need to be stopped, and they're difficult to stop, and they're powerful, and yeah. if that makes any sense. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I apologise. I am so sorry. I'm just not well, but I don't want to not put videos up for you guys, so I'm going to stick with the 3 videos now. Having the Halloween specials being like, some of them are just like 2 minutes long, makes it easier, I guess. That's only happening up to the Halloween though as well, so I know some of you like to have like lengthy videos and that, but not all of them are that long, you know, some of them are longer. But yeah, I'm just going to stop now, so thank you guys very much for watching. Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below, let me know I should watch and discuss in future videos. Oh, and I'll see you guys. Yes, all you guys. Name them.